So I am right now going to bring in Mr. Roman Waschuk. Hello, good morning. And as a former Canadian ambassador to Ukraine until 2019, now you're the business ombudsman. Has the situation changed regarding, for instance, rule of law since you were there last? And what kind of problems do Canadian and international companies in general face? And perhaps you can just give us an idea of what your specific role is.
Well, thank you very much, Juliet, and it's an honor to be here in this distinguished company. We're a case-based organization, so let me start from that. I think it's worth noting that Ukraine, for example, actually has one of Europe's more advanced automated VAT refund systems, and that's taking care of a lot of the big-ticket, multi-million-dollar problems in that sector that I was encountering back in 2014 when things were very much being handled by individual bureaucrats. There was a lot happening, especially before 2014, on kickbacks in that area, major business concern. Now, we've actually seen an increase in tax cases over the past year, but it's been more around the edges of disputed taxes where manual procedures are not yet automated and still prevail, and where there have been structural disincentives for tax offices to forfeit revenue and maybe then not hit their own KPIs. So maybe let's sort of unpack that as an example of what goes on. Let's say there's a company, large or small, Ukrainian or foreign owned, thinks it's been unfairly assessed. It goes to court, it wins the case, either in the first instance or on appeal. So in this case, the judicial system, which people talk about a lot, but in this case, it's actually worked. But then the money doesn't come back to the company, possibly because the tax office doesn't want to reduce its fund levels and, again, miss its own performance indicators. So that's where we come in. We point out this malpractice at both regional and national levels. If we don't get a positive response within 15 days, we take the case to a joint working group we have with tax service headquarters here in Kyiv. And then in the vast majority of cases, the refund is activated and received by our business client. So that's a problem, and it's quite repetitive. I've seen it even in the 2 weeks.
I think we're having audio problems. Mr. Waschuk, can you hear me?
Yes,
oh,
sorry.
Here we are. You're back. Go ahead.
I must have, so as I said, that's why we don't just address individual cases, we do systemic reports on legislative and regulatory solutions. And so I'm very glad that I've already had a meeting with Prime Minister Shmyhal to discuss how we can work together to implement them, and happy also that we'll be working together on getting a law passed to institutionalize the business ombudsman function in a more permanent way, which I think would be a lovely thing to be able to announce at Lugano. As far as law enforcement itself goes, we haven't seen any upward trend there. In fact, downward trend, which fewer cases we have, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Our most recent report on law enforcement, released just this month, shows a shift in complaints from people complaining about actions of the police and prosecutors, seizing IT or other equipment, paralyzing a company's work, which was very much a phenomenon in years past, to complaining about their inaction. So they're not investigating an alleged criminal or unfair practice by competitors or government bodies. Now, still a problem, but in a way it's evolving in a more positive direction. I think Ukraine is still vulnerable to what I would call enforcement eruptions, where seemingly disproportionate fines are levied to major businesses. I mean, our office in last year helped resolve the Nova Poshta case, where a broken aquarium generated a fine of over 10 million. And fortunately, there we were able to work with a very reform-minded head of the state consumer service who wanted to stamp out that kind of culture within her own organization, and managed to get that fine quickly rescinded. We'll also be working with the Prosecutor General's office, 2 events over the next 2 months, to bring together law enforcement and figure out how to attack some of those remaining systemic problems.
Thank you, Mr. Waschuk. Thank you so